Yes, everybody, welcome back to Football United TV. This is the F.I.T.A show. We're talking about the Copa Libertadores final that happened last night. Of course, I got my man here on my right-hand side. Right-hand side, left-hand side for you watching? I don't know how it goes. Fluminense. Right.
I think.
Right. I was right the first time. Oh, hang on. There we go. Got a little bit of background feedback there. Yeah, so we're starting off tonight talking about the Copa Libertadores final. Fluminense won. Marley's here as well to chat about it. Get your comments in as well. Ask Marley many questions. He went to the game last night. He's going to tell us all about his experience. But first of all, you know what's coming. It's the intro. Everybody, welcome back to the F.I.T.A show. We are here to discuss last night's final of the Copa Libertadores, and I was joined very specially by Marley today, who went to the game last night at the Maracana. Mate, how are you feeling about this success? First ever time, mate. What you got on there?
This is I don't know what's this called.
I have no idea.
Something
Just
that
a
you put
banner.
across. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, just a Champions banner. Like they're very popular in Brazil. They're usually sold before finals, so like it's a gamble to buy them. My brother did though. He bought one for himself and one for me, and yeah, he gave it to me after we won. And man, like objectively, one of the happiest days of my life, and one of the happiest moments of my life. Like this really like very cathartic moment for sure, and I'll get to that in a moment. But it's just epitomizes like it's like the greatest moment I could have lived as a Fluminense fan. And there's an entire build up for that, like very exciting. And like I've watched a lot of games at Maracanã, but I'm now one of those guys who watches every game every season. Like I've had my spells. This season, I definitely believed, and I've believed for a while now. I've watched a lot of games this season, and it's yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. I was there with my brother as well. Like it's which meant a lot. Like I was born a Fluminense fan, on a Fluminense fan family. So my father pretty much made me a Fluminense fan. He's not here anymore, but like my brother and I being there, like it just felt like he was there with us. Like I don't have that. I don't have that sadness. Like yeah, like it's too bad my father wasn't here to watch that. Like yes, I would have loved to watch that with him, but like it's a. I'm sure he was. I'm sure he witnessed that in some way, and I felt his presence. I was there like with like his other son, and it was fantastic. It was fantastic. The experience, like Maracanã, was absolutely stunning. Boca fans, I have a lot of complaints about them. I have some complaints about the Fluminense fans as well. But, in the stadium, like, thankfully, there were no fights whatsoever. And at least, like, it hasn't, like, nothing was made popular of, like, Boca fans acting unaccordingly in the stadium as of now. So it was a beautiful party, man. Like, like they're two very colorful teams. You see, Fluminense has, like green, like I don't know what this dark red is called in English. Like, I don't know if it's maroon, something like that, but we say Grená.
So.
Yeah, so maroon, so green, maroon, and white. Plus, you have Boca, who are like, well, technically blue and gold, but it's more so like blue and yellow, right? Like,
Yeah.
um, so very colorful. So the stadium just looked amazing. Like what you should expect from a final in Maracanã, right? Like from a Libertadores final.
Yeah.
Everyone that has said something about that, like trying to compare, has said that even like since it's been competed as one game, which I think 2019 was the first Libertadores that was played in a one game thing, like one game final. This was the most beautiful party because like you had a local team, and you had a local team who's like we're Fluminense, objectively saying, like, just in amount of fans, like we're like 10% of Flamengo,
Yeah.
but like it's over 3 million people already, so we're definitely more than capable of filling stadiums. And it's a team that has like, and this I'm probably gonna get to that a little later. By the way, there's a very good chance that most of my biggest monologues in the history of the channel are going to be in the stream, and I'm not going to apologize for it. Well, I am, but not really. Like, I'm not going to mean the apology. It's just because I'm polite. But like I only get one chance of streaming after like what just happened, which in like it's historic for me. It's something I'm going to talk about like since the day I'm like till the day I die. Like I'm gonna have this day like yesterday in memory, and something I'm gonna tell my family. Like anyway, I'm getting off track here. What was I talking about, Maddie? Remind me.
Your
Where was
experience and how much this means to you, and you were going to also talk about you have a
yeah?
situation, a problem with both sets of fans, but you'll get onto that later as well.
Okay, no, yeah, that when we get to talking about the game, which I'm excited to do with you, like I think it's the first time we can discuss a Fluminense game, really, right? Like, and we're like,
I
you're
watched the
one of
whole
the
thing, mate. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, you're one of my best friends, so and like our relationship was built originally on football, so I'm very excited to do that with you
I
now.
was supporting Boca, as you probably saw in
I
the live.
I know, and I give no craps about that because we won. So I still love you. I love you equally. It's all good.
One and the same.
But
One and the same.
exactly. But anyway, it's Fluminense fans, like we embraced the team in a very different way. And the Fluminense culture, like this is gonna be like if it gets boring to you, I really do apologize. But then again, I don't mean the apology. It's you can learn like a lot about the difference, really, like in experience, what it is to be an European fan and a Brazilian fan. Like they're two completely different animals. Like Brazil has 12 big clubs. That's the consensus, right? Like a lot of people will say that there's more than that now, like because it's unfair not to name any teams in the Northeast as big because they have their different circumstances too. And they're huge, like teams with millions of fans that have a lot of silverware too, just different types of silverware because like different relevances and all that. But you guys in Europe, like this mostly here, like we're mostly among United, Liverpool, like those are the two biggest, and then like Arsenal, Chelsea, some Spurs and City fans. Like these are well, Spurs excluded really, and for a long time Arsenal excluded as well. Like weren't really competitive for a long time, but those are huge clubs, like expected to win, and winning becomes like I don't want to say it becomes boring. It's always great to win, but it's not like one of a kind. Like there are circumstances, but like how many amazing titles and amazing players has United had? Like in Brazil, there's objectively like 12 to 15 big clubs. The club with the most Brazilian titles is at like I don't know 10, and you have like these bunch of big clubs like Fluminense has four Brazilian titles. That's Fluminense was a huge club before the Libertadores. It was cathartic to win this because it was sort of a joke that was really easy to make. The Fluminense had no international titles. I'll get to that. It's not really true, but Fluminense was a massive club before that because circumstances said so. Like times change and people like ignore the past nowadays. Like at one point, the Carabao Cup was important, right? Like now it's not anymore. But you shouldn't discard the important Carabao Cups that were won in the past. Like those are important. Now it's not anymore. Same thing goes in Brazil. Like the state championships were massive back in the day, and that's when Fluminense is 121 years old. It's a really old, like really traditional club. Back in the day, the Campeonato Carioca, the Rio League, like was the most important thing in Brazilian football. Fluminense has 33 of those titles. Like it hasn't been as important nowadays, and people don't count that as like they don't put that in perspective to calling a team big. But like that was the big competition back in the day, and Fluminense won it. There was a international league as well back in 1952, which was the biggest international competition you could win back in the day. Palmeiras won in 51, Fluminense won in 52. Back then, big props. Now, like because it's not like a format that we're used to seeing or anything like that, it was like invited teams. Like it was, you could try to call it a friendly competition, right? Like just because of the way like it was built, but it was still like some of the best teams in the world. It lost its importance and people discarded. So Palmeiras had to win an international title, and Fluminense had to do the same for that joke to stop. But the team was huge already. But like that was it. 52. Before it was mostly like state leagues. Brazilian league is not as old as football is in Brazil. I don't have the number like the year in my head, but Fluminense had an amazing spell back in the 70s with the Máquina Tricolor. That's a three-colored machine. That's where Rivelino played. Rivelino to this day is regarded as the best player to play for Fluminense. He was in the 1970 seleção, the best national team of all time, undoubtedly so. And he was there playing alongside Pelé. I think he wore the number 7, but it could be the 11 as well. I think it was 7. And he was fantastic, but he had Pelé, the greatest thing about. And then 84, we won a league in there. Another one in 84, which was another amazing spell. The 90s were dreadful for Fluminense. Fluminense was relegated to the third division back in 99. I was alive back then already, but I don't have memories from that. Like my
You were?
memory, I was, yes. But my relationship with Fluminense, like from memory, starts more like in the years 2000 already, right?
Wow. Okay.
So Fluminense came back to the first division in a unorthodox way because Fluminense was relegated to the third division. Then we won the third division. We went to the second division. But then what happened was the format of the Brasileirão, of the Brazilian league, changed. It went from like, I don't know, 20, 24 teams to 32. Like the format completely changed. So in addition to the teams that went up, just like the regular way, like the promoted teams, there were also a couple of invitations, right? So no one was relegated that year, and a couple of teams from the second that would have played the second division were invited to play in the first one. Fluminense, being the biggest club that was in that situation back then, was one of the invited clubs. So to this day, a lot of people make fun that we have a debt with the Serie B, right? Like with the second division. So start of 20th and 21st century, Fluminense was always kind of competitive, but didn't win much. Like we came in third, fourth place. Like our first big titles, like the first big title that I witnessed was 2007, Copa do Brasil, the Brazilian Cup. Amazing. Like I was in my I was 14 back then. So like I was in school, right? Like I was able to feel that. I was not in the stadium, but I watched the final with a lot of friends. Amazing time back then. Like like best football moment of my life. Fluminense was in the Libertadores Final the year after. Back then, we had a sponsor that did a lot more than sponsors should do for a team Fluminense size. Like he invested a lot. He was a Fluminense fan. Like the president of that company, Unimed, he was a Fluminense fan. He invested a lot. We had the best sponsor in Brazil for a while with no reason, with no good reason other than him being a Fluminense fan. And there was huge investment. Fluminense was the best club in that year, 2008. We didn't really care about the Brasileirão, so we almost got relegated, but we focused on the Libertadores,
Mhm.
and we lost like in a rather scandalous way. Like with VAR, like Fluminense would have won that one, so it was like kind of like we had it in our throat. Like Fluminense played better. Fluminense should have won by more. We lost on PKs. The ref was an absolute disgrace. Like always robbed Brazilian teams, which is something that has happened. I'll talk about it a little
Oh, there's a lot
more.
of corruption in South American football, as have been in the past, hasn't there? With like referees, like in Colombia especially, but that's another story for another day.
Yeah, it's there's always an anti-Brazilian bias, mate. Like we speak a different language. You got to think about the fact that it's like Brazil's bigger than the rest of South America put together. Like
Yeah,
it's a
you can fit.
massive country, so
I think you can fit Europe inside of Brazil alone, right?
if you
That's
take Russia out, yeah, Brazil's bigger than
yeah.
Europe.
Wow.
Brazil's bigger than Europe, yeah. So it's massive. So like in that, in addition to being, like obviously because of the size, the richest country, and then like we speak a different language as well. So there's this us against them kind of thing. So there's always a bias against Brazilian teams, and with VAR, that still happened. That still happens. I don't know if you felt that way, but there were definitely like more questionable things happening against Fluminense than in favor of Fluminense from the ref. At least like that would be my biased opinion. But like watching journalists talk about it with their like not Fluminense but Brazilian bias, they kind of agree with me. But yeah, there's a phenom, but back in the day there wasn't VAR, so we were more subjective to like refs messing up. That was definitely one of the cases. That was the first time Fluminense got in a Libertadores final. The second was yesterday, and after that, Fluminense went through the best spell in its history, where we won two Brazilian leagues, and I was very much there. Like I was very present. I watched a lot of games back in the day. Huge investment. Fluminense usually had the best team in the league. We usually had the best manager in the league as well. 2010, we had the best player in the league. We had Fred. That was the beginning of Fred.
Mm-hmm.
Just by the way, I kind of skipped through because I should have mentioned like the first idol that was made yesterday started playing for Fluminense back in 2006, because it should be said that one of the reasons why Fluminense has been competitive forever is our academy. Fluminense has one of the best academies in football in the world. And in 2006, Marcelo began his career for Fluminense. That was a bad year for Fluminense. We almost got relegated, but Marcelo was a left back already. He was improvised as a number 10, and he was fantastic. He was sold to Real Madrid. He went to Real Madrid when he turned 18, because he was doing everything he could at 17 years old. He grew up to be the the most successful fullback in football history, and one of the biggest fullbacks in football history as well. One of the biggest Brazilian players in football history, like being the most successful player in Real Madrid history, right? Like with the most trophies won, like that means a lot. And 2006 he began, but I lived through that, and that was also like the rise of Fred, who is, like, in my opinion, the biggest player in Fluminense history, which is special, right? Like this is special, and this is something I don't take for granted. A lot of people support clubs that are huge and that have been really successful for a long time, so they've lived past the prime of their clubs. Like from most of my friends haven't seen Zico, right? Like one
Yeah.
unquestionably the biggest player in Flamengo history, and probably is like he's always going to be that way. Like unless something massive changes with the way football works nowadays, like no one can do more than Zico did. So, like I actually watched the biggest idol in the history of my club play, like the from beginning to end, and he was very important in the second league we won there, like in 2012. He was our captain already. He was massive. After we lost the sponsorship back in 2014, I think. In 2013, this is important as well, because this brings up another figure and another legend now. In 2013, Fluminense was properly relegated. Like we finished in 17th in the league table, and that's relegation zone in Brazil. But two things happened that season. Flamengo in the Brazilian Cup played a player that was suspended. Like he was not eligible for that game. And shortly after, Portuguesa, a smaller club who now like is barely like almost unexistent, inexistent. Sorry, they're vanishing. But they used to be in the first division. They also played a player like he came from the bench. It was weird. Like they also played a player that was suspended. So these two teams had to lose points. Who was Fluminense's lawyer back in the day? Mário Bittencourt, our current president. He was the lawyer of Fluminense, and Fluminense as someone like like who tended to gain a little bit from just applying the law really, but they sent Mario Bittencourt, and he was fantastic. Like lawyers looked up to him. He only played like with the law on his on like that's like they were supposed to lose points. You have
Yeah.
to. That's how you punish teams. Like that's how you punish teams in serious leagues. So Flamengo ended up finishing in 16th and Portuguesa in 17th. So Fluminense avoided relegation there, but shortly after we lost our sponsor, and Fluminense stopped being competitive. Like the only reason why Fluminense didn't like go to the second division was because of our academy. Our academy is always revealing amazing players who turn out great in Europe, and they save our butts. We have to invest really smart because we have no money. We're in huge debt. Then, like, I'm gonna skip a couple years because Fluminense was insignificant from like 2013 to 2018. 2019 was the last horrible year. That was the year that Diniz came. Fernando Diniz, our current manager and the Brazil manager. He came in 2019, and he like I'm gonna try my best not to get emotional here. And if there's any translations of any interviews Fernando Diniz gave yesterday, please give it a read because it should be crucial. Fernando Diniz came, and first of all, practical side of the of conversation, like it was beautiful to watch. Like the football that a Diniz team plays is entertaining for someone who's not supporting any of the clubs involved. Like it's entertaining to watch. It's attacking, it's free flowing, it's not stuck, like it's flexible. It's awesome. It's awesome. It's entertaining. But his approach is human. Like it's human. Like the amount of beautiful stories. Guys, if you don't like to see men crying, you might as well like leave now because I feel something coming here. But the human side of things, like Fernando Diniz, is unlike any other. It's not just because of football that he's the most supported manager now. Like anyone that loves football will say that like maybe they wouldn't want Fernando Diniz in their club because like with high risk, like comes high reward, but also like high losses. It's very risky. Um, but it's the human approach. Like he doesn't give up on anyone. Like it's like he turned Fluminense into a family, and from that point on, like you could see like multiple players always like even though they had like late salaries, like because Fluminense was broke, like we couldn't pay people, like we had to delay salaries. A bunch of people sued Fluminense because like Fluminense was dead broke. But the culture, like it was always a family. The players always say like best environment. It's a family. They big up everyone. You can see the players like yesterday bigging up like like they say the ant that cleans the place, the guy that watches the stadium, just like the gatekeeper, like everyone, entire family. Like a lot of these players were ruined. It was like the kid, 21 years old, that scored like the biggest goal in Fluminense history yesterday. Like he was about to be one of the many young kids that football gives up on. Like it's not the same thing. Like we've had former players in England on the channel. I follow a couple, like some famous Arsenal YouTubers try to be football players and they're fine. Like I know there's struggles in there as well, but poverty in the UK and poverty in Brazil, mate.
Very different.
Like these kids go through a lot. Like most of them had to go down favelas watching guys with guns, like avoiding that kind of violence to try to chase a dream. That's impossible. Statistically, it's almost impossible. And John Kennedy is one of those many kids who's talented, like so talented, but he had a mind like that was, somewhere else. He wanted to party, like he wanted to benefit from the fast success very quickly, and he was losing his tracks. Fernando Diniz brought it back. Like I'm gonna get to them like a little bit more later on, but just like Fernando Diniz had a good season that year. Like he was fired, and like the president didn't want that. Most of the fan base didn't want that, but the culture never left. Like Fluminense stayed playing like more of an attacking way. Like it was always a family that way. And this year, finally, like Diniz came back last year, and just like telling you specifically, and I'm sorry, this is gonna take a long time. Like how this team was built is something marvelous, and we're used to seeing like like clubs chasing players for over 100 million now. Like I think the most expensive player in Fluminense's roster probably cost like $2 million, but like the goalkeeper Fabio, he's 43 years old. He was an absolute legend at Cruzeiro, another massive club in Brazil. He was kicked out because he was too old, like not good anymore. Just like Fernando Diniz says, like football players, they're objects. People don't give a crap. Like, they're not human beings. They're just it's beautiful, guys. Like watch, like read the interviews. Fernando Diniz should be heard. Like you gotta root for this guy. You have to. You have to. And I'm so blessed that it's with my club. Like it's so beautiful. But not only did Fluminense give him a chance, but Fernando Diniz taught a guy who was horrible with his feet. He said, "This is how we play. You're an amazing goalkeeper. I don't care that you're 41. You're gonna learn how to play with your feet." And he said, like for a year, Fabio got to practice a half hour before everyone else with Fernando Diniz to practice kicking the ball, just touching with his feet because that culture is very recent, and he's an OG. He's 43. Like he played a Libertadores final with Cruzeiro in 2009 and lost. This guy got a chance and he finally won a Libertadores. He came for free, of course. Samuel Xavier was playing for smaller clubs in Brazil, for Ceará, for teams in the Northeast. Never got his opportunity, but he became one of the best right backs in the country for just wanting it because no one fights harder than Fluminense. We're the team of warriors. The right back, I'm not going to talk about him too much because he's a great right back. Nino, he's probably going to go to the Premier League very soon. The captain, I'm sure you noticed him. He's a good, very good player. And he's, another. He came from the poorest region. He came from the poorest region of Brazil. Most polite player you'll ever see. He's the
Got his dream.
What?
He's got his dream. All that hard work through such a difficult time.
He wore the armband. He's the captain for the best trophy in the history of a massive club in Brazil. Like, look at that. It's unbelievable. Like he was wearing the flag like in his waist. Like it was just marvelous to see. Felipe Melo is 40 years old. Like most problematic figure in Brazil, like, like with some very sad exceptions. I mean, like within what's right, like the most problematic figure in Brazil football. And people didn't believe in him anymore. Like he's so slow. He is, but there's room for it. He's still an amazing passer. And the first goal started with an amazing long pass from Felipe Melo. And he was a joke in Brazil. But Fluminense believed in him. He won 2 Libertadores with Palmeiras, but no one cared. And he was kicked out as well. He came to Fluminense because we believed in him. Marcelo, most successful left back in the history of the game. he wanted to win something with his childhood club, and he said it himself, like it meant more because Real Madrid is the most successful club in the history of football. Like, what's five more Champions Leagues? Like, it's a lot, but a first Libertadores for Fluminense, the team that made him a man, like that's priceless. Then you have amazing academy players in André,
He
in
was very
Martin.
he was very tearful at the end of the game,
Yeah,
Marcelo. I could
he
see
was.
it meant so much to the coach as well, from what I could see. And it's just, I mean, looking at from it and on an outside perspective, Marley, I think it was really nice to see you win it on home turf as well.
Yeah,
Be able to lift your first ever one. And I think, coming from my perspective, obviously being a Boca fan since I was young because of Maradona, etc., and I just loved the kit, and I just admired back then the fan base. I'm sure you're going to get on the fan base.
yeah,
That's the situation last night, but
yeah,
I think it was very fitting to see a new winner of the cup, and for it to be you as well, with the year you've had as well, the last couple of years you've had. Not only you, but the players as well that are involved, like you just said, about how they've grown up and how they've really wanted to become something, not just because they love football, but just because they hate poverty. And I think that's something remarkable to see and witness. And I think I agree with you, and I go on the same thing that you said, is the fact that people need to realize that these people are human being, and yes, they might be on a lot of money now, like looking at Premier League players, etc., but where they've come from and how they've got there, it's a very long, difficult story for a very big majority of players in world football, let alone just Brazil. And to
yeah,
see this last night, and to see the tears and see the fans, and it was a beautiful moment, even from an outside perspective, mate, looking in on the beautiful game. And the reason why we love the game and the reason why we play it is because we enjoy it, and it brings happiness. It brings sad times as well, of course, but once you have those happy moments, it can mean so much to so many people who have not a lot in life.
yeah, yeah. Man, like it's I'm gonna say the fan base deserved it, but that's like that's my like my selfish like needs. I'm a Fluminense fan. All fan bases deserve happiness, like people deserve happiness. There's no one that's better than anyone else. But this group really deserved to win, and I think it was clear to see. But I think Fluminense needed to win, and this is not making Fluminense to be smaller than it is, or the players. But football needed Fluminense to win because of Diniz. It really was, because that's the thing. Like his way of playing is exciting. It's very Brazilian. It's important for football in a strategic way as well. Just so that, like, hopefully we bring some of our Joga Bonito back, because like it's what makes Brazil great. Like I don't think Brazil needs to. It's silly to try to be an European country, like when it comes to football. We're not. We're Brazilian. We play in a Brazilian way, and that's what made us best. So
I
having,
guess you look at it, Marley, like this, from an outside perspective, from my side of things,
yeah,
is that the best league outside of Europe is a Brazilian league.
yeah, and it's because the players are great. Like it's not because we go too much into detail. Like we defend too well. Like
There's
Brazil's had
passion as
too
well, isn't
many.
there? There's passion within Brazil. There's something different
Yeah,
about it, and
yeah. There's everything. There's the
how many
mystical thing.
you've got so many teams in Rio, though. It's like, reminds me of London. Like how
Yeah,
many
yeah,
teams are in such a small space, which shows you how much it means to the communities, and how the teams are different, but depending on what street or what neighborhood they're in, and
yeah.
etc. etc. And I just find that a really good thing, because I think in the end of the day, it brings people together, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, it does. And Rio, yeah, you're right. You're right. Because São Paulo, like the state of São Paulo, has four big clubs, but the city has three. And Fluminense, Rio, it is huge, but it's a lot smaller than São Paulo has four. So yeah, it's like the hub of football. Like historically is Rio, like just as much as it is Sao Paulo, or maybe even a little more. You do have Pelé coming from Santos, so like it's kind of questionable there.
Is it the
But
same then, Marley? Because obviously, I don't know. I'm just throwing one in here anyway, a spanner in the works. But
yeah.
you can't have a team called London Football Club, and I don't think there's a team called Rio something, is there? So is that the same?
No, but there's a team called São Paulo.
No, but I mean
So
in Rio. I mean in Rio.
yeah, I think there's a small club somewhere called that, but like none that came to significance or anything
So
like
not allowed
that.
to in London. No team in London is allowed to be
Oh, you're
called.
not allowed to? Okay, no, I don't think there's a rule against it here. I don't think so, at least. Maybe, but I wouldn't. Not to my knowledge, at least. Not to my knowledge. And Fluminense itself just means being from Rio, so it's not from the state of Rio, so it's not too far off. Then you have two teams that are named after neighborhoods, which are Botafogo and Flamengo, and Vasco da Gama is a historic Portuguese figure, like one of those old Portuguese guys that came to Brazil in the early days. Those
Yeah,
are the four big clubs in Rio.
you don't
But
remember that.
anyway, it's just like it was the victory of the like the team that decided to be the human team. Just give me 1 second because I thought the charger was plugged on, but apparently it's not. So just give me 2 seconds, Maddie.
It's absolutely fine. While you're gone, mate, I'm gonna read out some comments here. Big up to Brush. If you are tuning in right now, please smash the like, share, subscribe. And if you've only just tuned in, trust me, you want to rewind back because very sentimental talk from Marley about this win for Fluminense for the very first time in the Copa Libertadores. Do honestly mean it. Scroll back and have a look. You will see some tears as well if you really want to know what I'm going on about. Very sentimental indeed. Brush, what a game. The atmosphere was crazy. Happy for Marcelo and co. The level of aggression and the tackles / fighting. Yeah, we are going to get into the game. I'm going to let Marley finish off lastly on how he feels for Fluminense, and then we'll just go quickly on what we thought about the game. Still can't believe I saw Felipe Melo on a pitch in 2023. Monster, fire. Marcelo getting emotional was scenes. Very good game in my opinion. Big up to William Contreras as well. Thank you for tuning in, mate. So nice to see you. I think you even came in last night, maybe, mate, possibly. Smash the like button. Yeah, he's right. Smash the like, share, subscribe if you can. If the transfer reports are true, Jean Arias and Somerville would be exciting to watch should Leeds get promoted next season. Did you have your say on this, Marley?
I mean, I'm not familiar with the rumor, and I have no idea how Leeds are doing right now. Like, what's the plan looking forward for that team? But what I can say is I do like John Arias. For anyone that watched the game, you could probably see how good he is, and he's been doing really well for the Colombian national team as well. Like you can ask her friend, and he's I think he can do even better than Leeds. Like I don't want to play Leeds down. Like I know it's historically a big club, but I think he could. I think he's at a level where he can be at those like almost competitive clubs like Brighton, like like that shelf in there. I think he's a really interesting player, man. I think in Europe he could become. Well, in Fluminense he could as well. It's just that we had players in those like many positions, but the way Fluminense plays, and like if you're growing in that team, like it makes you very versatile. And John Arias has the tool to play pretty much anywhere from the number 8 to the wings position. Like as a number 8, as a number 10, as a left or right winger, like like a low. He can go a little bit back as well because he's quite the solid defender if you think about it. So he's an exciting player. He's a really exciting player, and I think investing in him, like from the Fluminense squad, if you're not looking at the, like you have a lot of older players who are worth like very close to nothing nowadays, like in dollar signs. But you have some young talent like Andres probably gonna go close to his release clause, which is 40 million. And I think John Arias being 26, if I'm not mistaken, he's not gonna be that expensive. I think unless Fluminense already sold like two or three players, Fluminense is probably going to be willing to let him go for at least like close to 20, probably a lot less than that. And I'm being optimistic if I'm being honest. And yeah, that's a good acquisition. Like with the way the market is nowadays, and these clubs like Leeds, like Brighton, they like investing in South American football. It's smart. There's always talent coming from here. And John Arias is just another example of a player who came at close to nothing from from a Colombian team. Like who like in Colombia he wasn't really well regarded either. Like it's like just like the many team of rejects who became a team of stars in
Yeah,
Fluminense.
well said. Static, big up to you, mate. Boca should have won. So disappointing. I don't think Marley's going to agree on that. We are going to get into the game after these few comments. Smash a like, share, subscribe if you are here. Hey, panel, well done, Fluminense, says Static. And he also says, see, Marley, right there. You must use that same love, passion, and energy for Arsenal too when it comes to keeping the standards high and demand success and wanting to see major trophies won. And this is about the final, you could say. Both teams deserve to win it. Sadly, only one can win it. Only
I'm
one can win it.
I'm gonna be honest. Like I don't think you understood my like what I was saying too much because it's not that's not really it. Like because in here, like as a Fluminense fan, I can't really have the standards that you guys want to have as Arsenal fans. Which by the way, like I'm not gonna change my speech now. I still think it's unrealistic and just bad planning as well. Like with the way most people want to see football now. I just like it. I feel like it's very immediatist and it gets us nowhere. I feel like you need more patience and yeah, it's not because Fluminense won the Libertadores that now I'm gonna be more impatient and just like like stop being smart, which is like my way of seeing things.
Exactly. You got
But
to see it your way.
yeah, exactly. But but yeah, man, it's just beautiful stories all around, and like I wanna talk a little bit about the game because otherwise, like I've
Yes.
been talking for 40 minutes
Well,
already. I have more to say, but what do you want to talk about, like that you can
yeah,
more
well,
of a
we want to ask
conversation?
you, we want to go a little bit, of course, we want to talk a little bit about Boca and what you felt of
Yeah,
them on their side of things, because
yeah,
obviously they got the equaliser with Advin Kula. I thought that was a
hmm
brilliant goal, and it really
it
set the game
was,
there.
it
From then
was.
on, it was like, okay, squeaky bum time. What did you make of their performance and just the game in as a whole, and the decisions made by referees, etc.? A few sending offs as well.
Yeah. Well, the referee, just because that's easy to me, but like there's probably bias involved. That again, we won, so I don't care really. It's probably best that it was this way, right? Like it felt even better.
Mhm.
But I felt like there were a couple of clear mistakes from the ref. There's some people questioning if there should be a pen for Boca as well. I don't necessarily see that way, but I can kind of understand it. But for me, there was a clear pan in Fluminense's favor that wasn't given, and there was like a headbutt to the neck. I don't understand how that's not a red card. Like I think it was the beginning of the game, like 19th, 20th minute or something like that against Gansu. It was, I think it was Valentin, the defender, tall blonde dude. He headbutted Gansu in the neck, and he had like that was so hilarious to me, by the way. Like he was laying on the ground like with his hand on his head, like, oh yeah, this guy's neck hurt my head. Yo, f off, f off, just come on. And yeah, there wasn't a red card and like the PK. And if you like the goal is beautiful. Advincula's goal was stunning from Boca, and I kind of felt that coming just because
Too
Boca
much
is huge.
space, Marley. They gave him too much space. He had so much
Yeah,
time to hit
he
that ball.
hadn't he had another attempt before as well that was pretty close to go, and yeah, that was a mistake on Marcelo's part. Who, if I'm being honest, like he was one of the worst performers actually on Fluminense's side, but he's still crucial, and I'm not gonna hate on him ever. Idol, absolute icon of Fluminense. But the in that circumstance, Fluminense had 10 players. because for some reason the ref took like he decided to leave Samuel Xavier, our right back, hanging there for like over a minute before Boca scored.
Yeah.
Like there was no good reason for that. Like he was screaming like, "Hey, hey, here! Like, come on!" But no, like, which is weird. It's just weird. You know those things like why, dude? I kind of feel like you would never do that to Boca. I don't know. It's awkward. It's awkward, really.
What did you make of
But
the decisions for the red card? I mean, obviously, we can talk about the first red card for Kennedy.
yeah,
Now, lovely goal, mate. Brilliant goal. And like we were talking about him as well and the stuff that he's been through and that. The celebration. Now, I think with everything you've told me, I kind of understand why he shot down that side of the stadium and went to certain people that he obviously knew in the crowd. But at the same time, you've just scored like to make it 2-1. The team needs you on the pitch. Do
yeah,
not jeopardize that for anything right now. Do it at the end of the game when you've won the game. Because I feel like had that have gone a different way, mate, he would have been blamed in the end. And like you said about how we treat football players, etc., he would have got the wrath of it, I think. And look, fair enough.
yeah.
At the end of the day, he did score the winner in the end. But I just felt it was a little bit of a stupid thing to do, even though passions are high, of course, at that time.
No, it was a huge mistake, obviously. And if Fluminense did lose, like if Boca got the equalizer and it went to PKs, Boca were huge favorites, right? Like we spoke about this. Romero, like he's not too impressive as a goalkeeper, but as a PK stopper, arguably the best one in the world right now, with like ridiculous numbers throughout his career, but now just insane numbers. So yeah, he could have been seen as a villain, but thankfully it didn't happen. It's one of those like, yeah, he was stupid. I feel like 99% of people in his place like would do exactly the same thing. But I do like I have to acknowledge that it's a mistake. I'm very happy that he's able to learn from this mistake without having to suffer defeat. Like he still won, and he's still like he's always gonna be remembered as the guy that scored the winning goal for Fluminense in our first ever Libertadores. That could very well be our only Libertadores for a long time. Like no one knows, but like just from investment perspectives and all of that, like could be a while before we get another chance.
I think the difference, Marley, wasn't it? Because Cameroon obviously did it in the World Cup against Brazil, didn't they? Right? He celebrated his goal, didn't he? And then he got the red card. Right? Remember that in
I
Qatar?
don't remember that. I don't.
Last game in the group stages, I believe, and I think Cameroon beat you, didn't they? They were in your group in Qatar.
I think it was. Yeah, I think it was that. I'm not entirely sure, like what team it was, but
I
yeah,
can
that's
understand
making
that
sense.
because that wasn't jeopardy. They were probably going out anyway, Cameroon. So it was like, sorry, I'm going to celebrate. Like, but
Yeah,
this, I just felt like was such a great goal, and he had a really good game. A few things that he did. I think he slapped someone in the face, didn't he? At some point, like,
yeah. He's
I know.
still a little. He's still, like adapting. Like it's literally his first season where he's like, okay, I'm gonna focus. Where like it's just like Fernando Diniz said, like this kid needed love and structure. He did, and like now, like he's focused, and you can see like he shines talent. It's amazing. Like he's always going to be a threat. He's consistently a threat. He's fast. He's strong. He's got a mean shot at him. Like you see watch his highlights. Like he's very participative as well. Like he defends. Like he's all over the place. Amazing player. But yeah, like his head still needs to like go entirely like on the top of his neck. Just like mine quite like isn't quite there right now because like my entire body hurts because I jumped so much, I celebrated so much. Like I have an immense neck pain. But yeah, John Kennedy could have become a villain. Thankfully, it didn't happen. It's one of those things. I think it's this. I think it's a rule that's more based on safety. By the way, like I think it's based on the safety of the player, but it's still stupid. Like like it's kind of stupid to want to stop a player. Like I'd be fine if it was like I think it's one of those situations where you got to find the club. Because that way, like, you don't have that, like, because sending a player off for like celebrating with his fans, it's beyond
I
dumb.
guess it was just a double yellow though. It wasn't actually a straight red, was it?
No, yeah, but that's the thing. Like, if you want to give it a first yellow, sure, but a second yellow, come on,
I guess if
come
he
on.
doesn't give it, then how many other people can you let off? I can guarantee the referee
Yeah, no,
really want to do it, but he was like, I've got to do this.
it's in the rule. Like, he had to. Like, I'm not gonna complain of the ref decision. Then again, the second one, come on, that was a clear slap.
Yeah,
Like,
tell
the
us
guy was
about it.
just dude. Like, they were losing. They were losing.
Who
Nino's
was it
actually
again?
what?
Who was the player again? I can't quite remember.
What's his name? Fabra, the
Yes.
left back. He's dude, Nino, the player that got slapped, right? Our captain. He's the chillest dude in the world. Like, he's so, like, you don't see him curse. Like, he's very calm. He's not that captain that's gonna get in your face. Like, he's a proper calm captain, like chilling captain. But he he saw that they were a little heated, and he felt like he needed to do something. So that was pretty much like Nino made that red card happen. He really did, because he did, like, he gave another player a little push. He could see that that guy was already heated. The guy just immediately, and like, a lot of us Latinos, well, I'm not that way, but a lot of Latinos are very, like, hot blooded. Like, we're passionate. So, a lot of my, a lot of my fellow Latinos are very boiled, like, very easily boiled on the head. So yeah, the guy gave him a proper, like, slap across the face, which is, like, in the streets that would be extremely disrespectful. In the field, it's disrespectful, and it gives you a red card.
Deserved.
And
Deserved.
deserved red.
So
And yeah,
did
go
you
ahead.
did you want to touch on the fan situation as well? You said you had some
Yeah,
about that.
it's I mean, from yesterday to today, like, there weren't too many big issues, but well, Thursday a couple of things happened, and I can admit that it seems like Fluminense actually did start it. Just didn't start like the worst things, but Fluminense got, like, like, the bad things rolling. And because one of the organized fan clubs of Fluminense just acted stupid, like, whenever Argentinians come to Rio, they usually gather in Copacabana. That's something that's, like, it's in their culture already. Argentina is a neighboring country to Brazil. There's a lot of Argentinians in Brazil already. They kind of adopt Copacabana. So, like, thousands or hundreds, I don't know, of Fluminense fans came to Copacabana beach, really, like, looking for confusion, right? Like, looking to cause, like, yeah, looking for a fight. And it happened. And that's something awful, and I'm pretty sure most fans don't condone that. But unfortunately, in addition to fighting back, which in that situation, like, unfortunately, it's understandable, but that causes something different, and that causes something which is, well, in addition to being awful and to being inhumane, is something that also sheds a light on a very, very big cultural change, cultural difference between Brazil and other South American countries. And there's a lot to explain that, really. But yeah, Argentinian fans have, like, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it, right? Like, I'm sorry, they have a strong tendency of being very racist. Like, it's so easy for them to call Brazilians, or, like, just people of darker color in general, like, just calling them, like, slaves, or, like, something worse, like comparing them to animals or something like that, using the word mono, which is anyway. And
It's
it's something.
it's crazy
Huh?
because they had Advincula who scored the goal. I mean, how can you not be supporting?
It's I'll get to it a little more in a bit, but yeah, like, as soon as that happened, you could see, like, Marcelo got a bunch of messages, like, what did Marcelo do? Marcelo wasn't in a fight. Like, he's a football player for Fluminense. He didn't condone the violence that happened there between boiled fans. Then he got called like everything, like he got a bunch of racist messages. And then you have like people appearing like in on TV, on live TV, like saying those awful things that I just mentioned, like imitating a monkey towards Brazilians. It's guys like, and
You
the
said
big,
Fluminense might have started this situation, though, not the racism, of course, but you mean what did you mean by that?
I mean, dude, I want, it's not that confusing, like it's not because of that fight that Boca Juniors fans acted that way, right? Like there's a cultural thing, and in most teams against Argentinian clubs, if there's any sort of heat happening, it's very often to see Argentinian fans imitating a monkey towards the Brazilian fan base. Very often. This is not something I'm making up. It's not only with Argentinian fan bases either. And I'm not saying there hasn't been any racism in Brazilian football. It has. And that's the thing. When it does, it's a scandal. Just like when something in England happens, it's a scandal. When it happens in the US, it's a scandal. We live in countries that are extremely problematic because the entire world is. But because these countries talk about these things so much, which it's good, it should be spoken of, we have it's very easy for us to think that the problem is bigger in our countries than it is somewhere else, and that's not the case. Like it's because we shed the light on what's wrong. But in Argentina, in other countries, unfortunately, and there's a lot of history involved too, right? Like Brazil's very conscious when it comes to that because Brazil's history is goddamn awful. Like Brazil's one of the countries that imported the most slaves. Like our history is awful. It has a lot of blood. It has a lot of just terrible things, and that's one of the reasons why we're so conscious now. Like trying to not really fix the mistakes because mistakes were made. You can't fix what happened like so long ago, but you can try to at least bring people to like understand the problems and like look forward to a better future.
Yeah,
Just like it is, like I think it's a very similar situation to England and
I think everywhere in the
prominent in
world,
that
mate.
fight.
I think there's
and
racism wherever you
and
go in
the
the
US.
world. I've seen it.
In
So
Argentina, and other South American countries, most of racism is still widely regarded as just banter. They think that calling a human being, like comparing a human being to a monkey, is the
it's kind
same.
of
It's the same thing as calling them a chicken when you're playing them, right? Like they think that's comparable because it's a cultural thing. And like these big like FIFA, CONMEBOL, they need to be. I know like people say respect differences and all of that, but when you're talking about prejudice, I do feel like the biggest things need to take a stronger stance, not in favor of countries that are more open, but just in favor of the goddamn future. Like you gotta sure, like there might not be as strong rules against racism in Argentina, but there needs to be in Argentinian football because they need to be setting the example, just like FIFA needs to act that way. Like you can't just say no, like it's culturally different in Italy, it's culturally different in Spain, it's culturally different in the like in the far east of Europe. I don't give a crap. Like when it comes to prejudice, that who gives a shit?
yeah,
Like fix it. Like you don't have to depend on a country being like being stuck in the past to
no,
just like go ahead, move your butt. Like you got to do something because this is not okay. All that being said, the party was absolutely beautiful in the stadium, and I can only, to the fans that were in the stadium, to my knowledge, because I haven't seen anything, I just want to give them huge props because there weren't any fights, and it was a beautiful, like the most beautiful party I've ever witnessed. That was football to its core. Just people loving the game, people being passionate, Fluminense fans crying of joy, Boca fans crying of sadness, like it should be. It's always going to be that way in a final, and beautiful. But you always have that going on, always. And this is not like, guys, this is not about me, right? Like I don't suffer that kind of thing, but this is always happening against my fellow countrymen, and it's happening all over the place. And it's when it's so freaking public, I struggle to see how there's an actual conversation and not just solutions. Like what happens against Vini Jr. in Spain, what happens in Brazil, like when playing some other like more, like white dominated countries in South America. Like come on, everyone sees it. Everyone sees it. It's not just, like it's not just anonymous people like sending hateful messages on Twitter anymore. Like it's out in the open. Fix it. Fix it. No one needs to live through that.
I agree, mate. I agree. Let's read out some comments. I
Yeah.
think people do need to sort it out as well. I do completely agree in that, but it's gonna take time. It's something that's
Yeah,
been
of course.
here since day one, unfortunately, and
Yeah.
hopefully we are still progressing. I think we are.
Yeah.
Anthony says, "Big up, you two! Congratulations to Fluminense on winning the final." Just to let you know, I put no in the poll, and the poll actually, Marley, that I put in randomly was, "Can Fluminense win the World Club Cup?" And you'll be happy.
Okay.
You'll be happy to know, might I add, that 7 votes, 71% say yes, and 29 say no. So there's a lot in your favour, mate, tonight. There you go.
Wow. Well, I'm gonna vote yes in that too. And this is not me saying we're like Fluminense are gonna be huge underdogs on the first game. Like you can't forget the fact that now like Saudi football is extremely filthy rich. So like we're gonna be playing against bigger stars like on the semifinals already. But if Fluminense makes the final, which by the way, if Fernando Diniz plays Pep Guardiola, that's like beautiful. Football kind of needs to see that beautiful thing happening. It's not likely though. And Fluminense, like the likely result is a 4-0 win for City. But you never know with football. You never know.
Well,
Um,
Alvarez, I believe, was the last player to lift both trophies, wasn't he?
Not anymore. Marcelo.
Oh, yeah. Got a new winner. The last night we had a little thing in saying who was the last person to win both trophies, the last person. But now it's Marcelo. There you go. There you go, everybody. You've got a new
Marcelo became only the 15th player in history to achieve that, to winning both. And the number, like I don't have the list with me, but the number, like the list is just like you see players like Dida, like Cafu, like Ronaldinho, like only legends of the game.
Well, we're going to wrap it up there, Marley. I think we've gone through everything, haven't we? Is there anything else you want to add? What I was going to do is put you on solo and let you send a message out to anybody who missed the start. Just a quick brief of what you were saying about your experience, etc. Just before we finish up. Do you reckon you'd be able to do that?
Not gonna lie, I feel like I have a lot more to say.
Go for it if you want to, mate.
Yeah, I do, man. If you're tired though, I totally get it. But like
I
I
just want to get a quick beer and then I got to get a bath afterwards. But I'm going to get a quick beer. I'm going to put you on solo. I'm going to let you preach out to everybody on the. Okay, you can do that. Yeah, you okay with that?
I'll just keep talking because I want to talk about some players. Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the first-time winners of the Copa Libertadores representing Fluminense. He is Marley Chillen, and he's going to just give you a little expert of how he felt that he's wearing his banner as well. Marley, if they missed the start, mate, please just re-inform them exactly what you were talking about Fluminense and your experience, just so people can recap.
Yeah. All right. So Fluminense is a massive club in Brazil, but then again, like being massive in Brazil, being massive in Europe, like those are two very different things. We don't really have a Real Madrid or a Barcelona in Brazil, really. Like Palmeiras and Flamengo have kind of been feeling that way recently, like last 4 years or so. But in general, it's really competitive. And Fluminense did not have a South American competition. Like we never won one. We'd reached the final of the Libertadores back in 2008 and lost that one. Horrible reffing mistakes, but like what counts is like we lost. We came in second place, and now we finally won. I was at the stadium, and objectively one of the happiest days of my life. That was freaking dope. And it's one of those. It's just one of those days, right? That some people might take for granted, but I witnessed the making of, at the very least, like 12 idols, idols, like, immortal players from now on. Not only players actually, but immortal figures. Like a couple of people within Fluminense were already pretty big, but it's this is the game that meant the most in the history of the team, and with that comes a lot of idols being created, a whole lot of them. And just because I can, I'm gonna name every single one of them. And with that, you're going to be learning about some players that are actually more towards the end of their careers, but also a couple of players that you might see for a while, like, playing in Europe. There's 3 or 4 players in Fluminense that, like, it's very unlikely that you're not going to be seeing them in the main tournaments, in main European tournaments very soon. So I'll get to all of them, right? Because Fluminense is a team, like, in any team that would win the Libertadores for the first time would be exactly the same thing. So automatically, if you're relevant in this competition that we just won, you kind of become an idol. There's different shelves to it, right? And I've spoken about Fernando Diniz already, and I see him as the biggest manager in Fluminense history, and that goes beyond titles. Please read his interview. You learn a lot, and you see how crucial it should be. And he's like a huge idol. Herman Cano, the guy that scored 13 goals in this Libertadores, give you context, Boca Juniors scored 13 goals in the Libertadores. Herman Cano scored the same amount. He goes to a whole different shelf as well that I'll get to in the future. That I'll get to, like, probably I'll save him for last. But the the rest of the players that were significant in there became idols. That's what happens when you win such an important competition for the first time. So you have Fabio, a 43-year-old, all of a sudden becomes one of the biggest goalkeepers in the history of Fluminense. Probably not the biggest, because we do have a huge icon in Castilho, who was our goalkeeper back in the 50s, like around the time Maddie was born. But it's Fabio won as the Libertadores. Idol, never gonna be forgotten. Samuel Xavier, the right back, come on. Like the round of 16, he scored in both games, and 2 screamers. Like, he's someone that symbolizes what Diniz does. Like, he reads the game that Diniz plays so well. He grew so much with Fluminense, absolute icon. He's not the biggest right back in the history of Fluminense, because we have the best right back in the history of the game in Carlos Alberto Torres, who played for Fluminense, but he's an idol. He won the Libertadores. Nino, our captain, idol. I don't need to explain anything. Felipe Melo, someone who had won twice, had won like a lot of titles in Europe, played for the Seleção for a long time, came to Fluminense at the end of his career. No one believed in him. People bark when they're at the stadium and they want to pay him homage. We go, hoof, 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 hoof. That's how we pay homage to him, because it represents the fighter that he is. Yes, he, like, the way he talks, it's funny, man. Like, I don't see like, I don't agree with a lot of what he believes in, but it's just like he's someone that embraces the cause. Idol. Marcelo just guaranteed his spot as the biggest Fluminense graduate of all time. Like, having been the most successful in Europe, and now being present in the Libertadores run, where we won for the first time. He didn't have a good game in the final, but he's crucial to what we're doing. He's a legend. He's there for the main reason he's at Fluminense. It's for the other Fluminense graduates. Like, he's there to be the teacher, to be one of the many masters of these kids that are just coming up. Which brings us to a next, and probably like the second most important figure there, André. And by the way, Nino, sorry, I forgot to mention, Nino's a defender that you're probably going to see in the Premier League. I think Nottingham Forest is close to agreeing with a deal with him for January. And I think that's another one. I think he could have gone to somewhere better. And there's always a risk that it's not going to work out. He's a little slow. That might kind of give him a hard time in the Prem, but he's a really good defender, and he's really technical as well. Like he's got good ball control as well. Amazing header. He's quite tall. He doesn't look athletic whatsoever, but he takes care of everything. All obviously a leader. So I think Nottingham fans, Nottingham Forest fans, should be very excited if that happens because I think he can flop, but he's also got the tools to be a solid defender for that team. Like arguably one of their best players. Um, and I go to André now, who is technically our best player and arguably the best Fluminense graduate since Marcelo. And he is going to leave at the end of the season. I think it's going to be to Liverpool. I'll get to that in a second. But I think he's going to be the player that we missed the most since the exit of Thiago Silva back in 2008. Just because Thiago Silva was irreplaceable. Like he was by far and away the best defender in the continent back when he was playing in Fluminense. And André right now is by far and away the best DM in Brazil, in the continent. And mate, if I'm being honest, like it might be for a long ass time. Because I feel like players usually leave Brazil before they reach their level. So the players that are usually that good are coming back to Brazil after successful seasons in Europe. And André's doing that at 23. Like that kid is beyond freaking impressive. If he goes to Liverpool, it's gonna be a weird thing because like he's a Fluminense Libertadores champion. Like I'm never gonna unless he goes to Flamengo at some point, I'm always gonna love André with the bottom of my heart. So if he goes to Liverpool, Liverpool's automatically gonna get some sympathy from me. Not gonna root against him, root for him against Arsenal. But other than that, mate, if André's playing, I hope he wins the game because he deserves it, and he's a G. And like most people probably doubt me because he's all the way here, like playing in a farmers league in Brazil, but. Give him 6 months in the Prem and you see what I'm talking about. I have no doubt in my mind that's an absolute world-class DM. He's got everything he needs to have to be the perfect DM. I mean, Matty probably saw it. He averaged 95% passing accuracy in a Libertadores final at 23. And he is literally the guy that starts every single play for Fluminense. Everything goes through him. And the reason why Fluminense can have a bunch of 35 to 40-year-olds is because he runs for all of these guys. That's why he was dead in extra time. Like in overtime, like he was absolutely dead because he ran for the entire game. I think he's going to go to Liverpool. I think he's going to be a staple there, staple signing. I think he's going to stay there for a long time if he goes. If he doesn't, I pray to God, like if he comes to Arsenal, he's my favorite player in an Arsenal shirt since Thierry Henry. Like he doesn't even need to kick the ball for that to happen. Like if he joins Arsenal, I think he's an easy upgrade on Thomas Partey, on Granit Xhaka, on Jorginho. Easy upgrade, easy and fast upgrade, and that would be just marvelous to see. The guy that played alongside him, and absolute idol of Fluminense as well, guy that played alongside him is the question mark. He might be too young and not important enough to be an idol yet, Martinelli, but I think he's going to stay long enough to become an idol as well. Another solid academy player, number 8, Maddie, number 8. He's not a cousin to Gabriel Martinelli, by the way, but he was linked with Arsenal in the past. That's not his level though, but I can see him having a solid career. We have Gansu. Gansu, like he was brought up from Santos with Neymar, and he was amazing. People thought he was going to be better than Neymar. He went to Europe, didn't work out. He was gone. Like his career, like no one believed in him anymore. He came to Fluminense. It took him a long time to be significant. But then again, Fernando Diniz believed in him, brought him back. and he's a solid number 10. He wasn't too important in this game either. He has some good games, some games that he's not too prominent, but he's got a passing ability that's out of this world. And he's a legend. He's going to be seen as one of the best number 10s we've ever seen, or at the very least, one of the biggest. We have the two wingers who are just phenomenal. One of them I mentioned already, JNRS. Maybe he goes to the Prem. Who knows? I think he could shine in any league. He's very physical. He's very good. I think he'd adapt anywhere. He's got one of the best football heads that I've ever seen. That's not me saying he's very intelligent. I just feel like his mind is on the right place. I just feel like he's a good human being that would do right anywhere he went, because his mind's at the right place. So I think that's a solid signing for anyone. He's an absolute icon of Fluminense. Him and Nino, before winning, like we just love them because they're great characters. And he's everywhere as well. Like Fluminense needs him, and that's gonna be a huge loss as well. Cano, 2 assists in the final. He did plenty before that, but I don't need to say anything else. Like he's probably like the player that Fluminense had to like fight for the most when joining Fluminense because he had other propositions as well. But amazing, like aging winger as well, but so participative. We call him Kenaldinho because like he's an attempt at our like one of our biggest wingers of all time in Ronaldinho. And I finally get to the two guys that are gonna be reminded for the longest. And John Kennedy, as I've mentioned before, I don't need to talk too much. Like he scored in the round of 16, quarterfinals, semifinals, final. Beginning of the season, he was loaned out to a small club in São Paulo, playing the state competition, being the highest scorer there, but a team that got relegated in that smaller competition. He came back to Fluminense. They gave him the number 9. They believed in him. Scored 4 crucial goals in the Libertadores and the winning goal as well. There's gonna be books with his last shot, like literally in the cover. Like he's one of the guys that's guaranteed to be remembered for all time in Fluminense. And Herman Cano immediately became the biggest foreigner player of all time in Fluminense. And depending on what happens the next few seasons, he's going to have an argument to claim that he's the biggest player of all time in Fluminense. His numbers are ridiculous. He has 16 goals in 16 games in Libertadores overall, already being the highest scorer of Fluminense in that competition. For 2 years now, he's scoring as many goals as Erling Haaland. And this is not like a lot of people watching Fluminense say that any striker would score a lot of goals in Fluminense, which is half true because we do create a lot of chances. But you watch his highlights, like there's actually a couple of things that I see similar. The difference being one is a like 6'4" Viking, and the other one's a 35-year-old Argentinian. But Cano's amazing at finding space, like the way he sets, like the way he protects himself and just guarantees the space for himself. Then he has a killer shot, who's like it's deadly, but he also has a couple of misses because he's like the best possible version of a shoot and pray because his instinct is always going to be to score a goal. And the numbers speak for itself. Like he's got 37 or 38 goals in this season already, like starting January. Last season, I think he scored 43, 44, like it was around that area. And yeah, only Erling Haaland competes with him when it comes to goal scoring. And sure, Fluminense gets him to be better than he is, but I think he would thrive at any team now. It's just that he's 35. And it's another story that's really cool because he only started being kind of prominent when he was like 29 in the Colombian league, a little bit in Mexico too, if I'm not mistaken. But then he came to Vasco, a rival of Fluminense. He scored multiple goals against us as well. He was great. Like he had like decent like 19 to 20 something goals every season. Good striker always. But the last league, Johnny was saying this, the last F.I.T.A or the one before. Like they were in the second division. He stayed there to help, but then he missed a PK towards the very end and they didn't get the promotion. So he pretty much got kicked out of Vasco as well. and Fluminense was competing with Fortaleza for his signing. Fortaleza was in the final of the Sudamericana. Great, like really cool team. I love them. But like much smaller, like a different shelf to Fluminense. But Fluminense believed in him, and he's been the best or second best goal scorer in the world since he got here. So he's got some claims in Fluminense. And that's it. Like you're witnessing a fan experiencing the most he can as a fan of his team. Like this is I have to come to this knowledge that like Fluminense might win some other titles that I'll enjoy thoroughly, but I can't live anything more exciting than I just did. Flamengo fans, like they win everything now. They don't have this, like this. They didn't watch the first one, and they've watched too many. Like for me, like this is singular. I watched heroes being born, and yeah, man, I'm blessed, absolutely blessed. I'm very surprised that so many people stuck by us here in this stream because I feel like if I wasn't a Fluminense supporter, I'd be bored out of my mind listening to a Fluminense man
We
just
have
blabbering.
no Boca Junior fans in here whatsoever. It's fine.
I don't think they'd be enjoying themselves too much in this stream,
I had a great time.
but but like that's another thing that I didn't even mention. Boca Juniors is the biggest club in the continent, by the way. Like Fluminense winning against them means the world, and it's also something really like it's just the universe trying to create an awesome screenplay because the team that stopped Fluminense from winning in South American competition twice now is literally the team we're going to be playing for the Recopa Sudamericana. So, like kind of like the European Super Cup. So, the South American Super Cup. We're playing against La Liga de Quito, which is the team that beat Fluminense in the final in 2008 and the South American final, Sudamericana final in 2009. It had to be. And yeah, it was awesome. If you have a chance to watch the game, if you have a chance to watch Fluminense, this is not just a club bias, right? Like it's very obvious for anyone. Like that's watching a Man City game is entertaining. And I'm not comparing the two. Like Man City is very successful all the time, but Fluminense just plays in a way that's fun. That's fun. You're either gonna see Fluminense getting embarrassed because sometimes it doesn't work, or you're either gonna watch us embarrass teams. And to this point with Fernando Diniz, Fluminense hasn't not won a game when we play well. Like when Fluminense plays a game well, since he joined, Fluminense is absolutely, to South American standards, unplayable. The thing is, with the age profile of the team and just, like the fact that you need to work harder than everyone else, and that's not always easy to do because, again, not objects, not robots, athletes, sure, but people, human beings, right? Like men and women on the girls sport, so on the girls football. So just people, first of all, like that's what we are first, and that's what they are first too. So they can't keep the standards all the time. But Fluminense has got to that point where if we have a good game, we're unplayable. I'm sure that could change very easily if we play against like some tougher European competition. But yeah, man, fun times. And I hope you guys liked watching the just just the statements and the
Live
relief
watch
that
along
comes
as well.
from
Yeah.
and the live watch along too, but just like the experiencing this because I don't think it's every day that you get to see this, right? Like just the someone epitomizing what it means to being a fan of something. And
I looked hard to find a live watch along that was in English, and there was nobody doing it in English at all. From what I looked at for the whole day, looking to see if there was a stream doing a live watch along as well. So
yeah,
for me, as from an English perspective, I really enjoyed watching it, mate. We've watched it a few times, haven't we? I think together we've done a watch along before in the Copa Libertadores and
yeah,
Copa America as well, and I do really enjoy it, mate. So from an outside perspective, and of course, this channel has quite a lot of people from Europe subscribed as well. So I'm glad to be able to do shows with you, Marley, and John and Esteban and everybody else where we're talking about football in the Americas and world football as well. I just think it's really good, and I agree with you. I think people should go and watch the game again or watch Fluminense if they can.
Wait, sorry, can come again?
Come again?
Can you repeat what you just said? I got
There's a lot there. Basically, just saying people should watch Fluminense again, and the fact that people from outside of South take note.
How I want to hear from you. Like, what were your thoughts on that game? Like, what did you think of Boca performance, which I'm assuming is the first time in a long time that you watched them, and Fluminense probably being the first full Fluminense game you watch.
I watched
like,
the
what was
game.
your impression?
I watched the Palmeiras game where they beat them.
Okay.
Yeah, so I watched that in the quarterfinal. I can't remember who it was against now. Bloody hell.
Was it Racing?
Yes. Okay. So yeah, I didn't see the rest of the competition, but I saw like the quarters, the semis. The game to me from an outside perspective was really good to watch. When I saw Palmeiras scoring that first goal, I kind of felt like it was going to be their night. But look, to be honest, like Boca looked like.
You mean?
Huh?
Fluminense, you mean? You said Palmeiras.
Sorry, yeah, sorry.
It's usually Palmeiras. It usually is Palmeiras. Okay.
When Fluminense scored the first goal,
yeah,
I felt like it was going to be their night. Even though I felt like Boca were on the front foot pretty much the whole game. To be honest, it looked like they were more comfortable on the ball anyway, at least the first half.
I feel like Fluminense played a lot better on the first half than Boca kind of dominated things on the second one. But mate, it's just like it's the different pressure, right? Like, sure, if you're Boca, you're more expected to win than at Fluminense, but there's a very different feel to, like, we need to win this title for the 7th time and we need to win this for the first time. And, like we need to win this in the 12th final we're playing, and we need to win this in the 2nd final we're playing. So, yeah, mate, like Boca players were more comfortable than Fluminense players. Yes. Undoubtedly.
But that doesn't mean that the result is. It felt like the underdog, underdog story tonight, last night.
Historically, yeah. I feel like from a football point of view, like Fluminense were actually favorites. Just like Fluminense has been playing better. If Boca won, like they'd have been the first team to win this way, right? Like Boca didn't win a single game in the knockout stages. They drew all 6. And so it was very clear, like if Fluminense won, Cano would have been the player of the competition. If Boca won, the goalkeeper would have been the player of the competition because it was due to him. It wasn't because of Cavani. Cavani's been garbage. I don't want to disrespect him. I love the player, but he hasn't done anything for Boca. And Romero was like the reason why they were there. But Fluminense was playing so much better. The thing is, it's that size. It's that, like, they're massive. Like Fluminense is very tiny compared to Boca. Now, the difference is slightly smaller, but it's still a huge gap. Like Boca is the biggest club in the continent. So huge props. It meant the world. It was really, really, really cool. Really cool.
I've got a few comments.
Huh? Yeah, go ahead. Don't get me wrong. Like the manager sucks, but the team's not that bad. Like if you watch the game, I'm sure you noticed there's a couple of players in Boca. Yeah, the manager Almiron. He's no good, but I mean I guess he's good at defending, right? Like you can't really argue against that. They conceded like 7 goals in the entire competition, but he's just not exciting whatsoever. But you probably noticed a couple of more than decent players from Boca. Advíncula, the guy that scored, like being one of them, like old Peru international already. I think F.I.T.A plays for the Colombian national team as well. Rojo wasn't there because he was suspended. Cavani is like, a legend of Uruguayan football. And mate, like, did you notice the red hair?
Yeah.
Barco? He's amazing. I think he's going to City. He's amazing, man. Like that kid is different. He's another one. Like he might be a similar conversation to
He
Andrea.
was
Like
very
he's
good
different.
against Palmeiras. Really good against Palmeiras. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah,
is it
against
Xabi
us, not
Alonso
so much.
in
But yeah.
Xabi Alonso in Argentina with the red hair? Yeah,
He's I mean,
Pace-
yeah, he's really technical that way, but he's so fast as well. He's so fast. And yeah, man, I think that's a scary prospect right there. He's 19. He's the main player at Boca already at 19. I think it's his last year. I don't think
he's
he's going to be
going
staying.
somewhere, isn't he? He's going
I th-
somewhere.
I think if City are interested in him, he's going to City. I
Yeah.
think that's very
So look
very
out for
little
that.
for him.
Look out for that, City fans. We are going to finish up now. I'm just going to read out a few comments. I think
Yeah.
some that Anthony can answer from. Sorry, Marley can answer from Anthony because it
Yeah.
is pretty much him. And he says here, first of all, with that banner on Marley, looks like he won Miss World competition. LOL.
I would if I tried, but no, this is Libertadores.
I said he
Libertadores
was a part of
Championship.
the suffragette movement, Anthony. If you remember the suffragette movement, you were that old in the 1920s. Anthony Herbert, I was joking. I did put a yes. I do think Fluminense will win the World Club Cup. It's still
You
8 votes.
shouldn't. You shouldn't think that. We're very much so underdogs, but
Everybody's thinking you are. 75% in the votes. 8 votes say yes, 75 yes, and 25% no. So there you go. Question, Marley, will Santos soon win this trophy? Thoughts they already have won the trophy before, but
oof.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean Santos is like this. I probably can't go over everything
Already
I
won
think
it though,
about
Marley.
Santos
What's
right
he on
now.
about? He's acting like
No,
we
no,
never.
no, but he means again. Like he's probably asking
He
about
doesn't mean
again.
that. He doesn't mean that. He doesn't know.
No,
Thinks
I mean
we not.
Santos is the team that Pelé played in, and not only Pelé, like Neymar as well, just being two very prominent examples. But Pelé, the biggest football player of all time. I sort of have a fear. Like Santos is massive, but Santos is massive because of the players that passed by Santos that got him to be slightly bigger. But the fact is, they come from a much smaller city, and there's a little bit of me that's a little fearful of how Santos is gonna deal, like how they're gonna keep existing as a massive club with Pele having passed away. I don't know. It's just a club that was consistently being bigger than it should practically be, just because it's kind of impossible for Santos to try to be the same size of Flamengo, for example. So for Santos to be winning a competition like this again, it's either going to rely on huge investments that could happen, like Brazilian league is coming to that era, sorry, where like we're expecting rich international people to spend money on the Brazilian league, and some teams might be more competitive soon. But Santos is probably going to have to rely on a season like Fluminense, because
Yeah.
it's tough for Santos to try to maintain itself as a huge club now without Pele. Like I don't want this to happen, but I'm fearful of a huge historic drop for Santos. I hope it doesn't though, because they do. It's another like probably if there's one team that has an even better academy than Fluminense in Brazil and in the world is Santos. So that's something that saves them.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like hard times for Santos.
Hard
Very
times.
hard times.
Yeah. Just because Bahia got Man City owning them, cuz doesn't mean like you're so great, mate. All right, you're owned by Man City. All right. Question: Matt, me, and Marley should have Football United TV shirts like you got. I'm a medium. Yeah, this is the old badge though, isn't it? This is the old school one, isn't it? Actually, this is actually made by Nike as well. Might I add that when we sent this off to Nike and they made it in Asia, in Japan. I believe it comes from Japan, but yes, it's the real deal. The badge is actually properly done on there. That's not printed. That's a real badge.
Hey,
That's a real Football United TV badge right there, people.
if
I will
you
get this one. I will get this one.
if you pull off bringing me one, just because it's a lot simpler than sending me one eventually,
Actually,
because
easy to send you one.
you think that way, but like with
It'll
don't
probably be
forget
made in South America anyway.
there's a there's a Takehiro Tomiyasu Arsenal kid of mine like floating somewhere in the ocean because there was one sent to me and it never got to me. So like don't don't overestimate the mail in
Well,
general, like any sort of mail.
I'll tell you what, Marley, and I'll tell you what, Anthony, if you're still watching, we'll get some designs in, and we'll try and fix up a Football United TV shirt, and I'll buy an extra 10 in different sizes, and we'll start giving them out to people that subscribe, etc. Do prizes, all right? We will do it. I've even got a Football United TV mug downstairs in the cabinet, all right? I took this seriously when I
Pretty
first
dope.
started, right? No, I just
Sounds good.
enjoyed it. People liked it, and I was like, be a bit
But I
funny.
just want to point out, like, highlight the fact that, like, sometimes I feel like Cuz doesn't necessarily know what a question is. Like, what in this makes it a question?
It's not. It's just that I am an extra large, which we know you are. You beast.
Cuz, what are you asking here? But I agree that we should have kits. And by the way, I'm a medium. And there's no way in hell you're a medium like
This
me. But
man,
anyway,
this is a beaut. I'm so glad I got this, man. Look,
this
it's
is
even got
awesome. Yeah,
the printing in it. Look, it's the proper nice, like French colours. Not that it was meant to be, but hey
looks
ho,
good.
as well,
Looks
mate. It's
really good.
beautiful, beautiful kit. One of the nicest kits I've got, and it's our channel. Okay, there you go. Anthony says Marley Matt was crying after the game. He threw his Boca shirt in the bin. I didn't. I had to FaceTime him. He's doing it he's writing in a Bristol accent. I had to FaceTime him and sing him a Rockabye Baby on treetop. Glad to see he's okay now. Big up, sweet cheeks. Yeah, thanks, mate. Well, how are Bahia doing? I couldn't remember. Good show, lads. Congratulations to Fluminense once again. And he says, "Yeah, okay, that sounds that sound." All right, well, he likes that. We're going to get you some shirts, and if you are tuning in right now, all four of you, if you want a shirt as well, you can get a shirt. But I'll be selling them, of course, to you lot. That's a lot of money out of my pocket. It's all coming out of mine. I'm not getting paid to do that. But I think we'll wrap it up there, Marley, because I've got to get a bath and I've got work tomorrow. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in today for this brilliant chat with the one and only Marley, Fluminense fan. Very historical moment for the club and for him and for all the fans and for the people of Rio in itself. Thank you for tuning in. Smash a like, share, subscribe if you can. Marley, have you got anything else to say before we go that you want to add just quickly?
Well, now more than ever, I feel like we should show you guys our
Okay.
friends and sponsors at
Yes.
Golasso Kits and show you the catalog that they have on Fluminense material because Fluminense is entirely all that matters in the world of football now. So
Or I can do it.
let's go with that.
Have you already done it?
No, no, yeah, I forgot to have it prepared
I've got
before,
it.
but now I have it. So just, oh, you have it?
There.
Cool.
Bing. Yeah.
All right, but yeah, but type in Fluminense so that they see what they have on
Oh,
Fluminense.
sorry. That's what you want. That's what you want. Okay.
Yes, yes.
He wants to. Hang on a minute. Where is
Well,
there?
that might have something to do with the Libertadores win. They might have just sold a couple there, but they still have 4 really nice kits.
Type it in Fluminense at the top. If you go check out Golasso Kits, of course, you can type in your team and you can see what shirts
Yes.
they have. Where do you want to go,
Yeah.
Marley? We can go down. I think that's it. 4.
No. That's it. I'm assuming they sold a buttload right now, but like that's a well, it's not necessarily Fluminense's best year. Well, one of the worst actually, but that's a clean white kit of Fluminense, the middle one there. Really nice. Like Fluminense's away kits usually look very similar to that. And if you go to the last F.I.T.A show we did, we should have set a promo for this one, by the way, and we apologize for not doing that. But if you go to the last one, which was a good show, by the way, you find a promo that's going to get you 15% off anything you find They ship worldwide. Everything they have is 100% authentic. They have stuff from not just Brazil and Argentina, but stuff from like any country you can imagine. It's kind of crazy. So check it out.
How is £20 a rip-off, Anthony? Honestly, how is £16.39 a rip-off? It's bloody good price, that is. Sorry, Marley, continue.
I'm assuming Bristol kits cost like cents, right? Just because of the difference in size and all of that. So yeah, it tracks that you find.
Hang on, the one in the
Fluminense
middle, 2013 away kit, £8.19. It's a rip-off. What are you on about, mate? You try and get a football kit for £8.19. Go
That's
on, Anthony.
marvelous. Like that's marvelous. Like if you like streaming with me and you live in the UK, you should buy that for that own like for that sole reason. Go ahead and buy it. You can also put a 15% discount on 819. Like it's gonna cost you next to nothing, and you're like immediately considered a friend to me, which is something that most people should strive for because I'm lovely, dude.
Yeah.
So like it's I definitely represent for Golasso kits, and like Fluminense's prices only show that. I'm sure they sold a bunch of Fluminense stuff in the recent past because they had good prices and because Fluminense owns South America now.
It does everything from Brazil here as well. You got the nationals.
Oh yeah.
You've got Brazilian clubs as well. Like you can go through them all. There's loads.
Nah,
There's
you go to
pages.
the Flamengo catalog, it's huge, which doesn't make me happy at the least, but it's they gotta have it because they're immensely popular. And yeah, like their catalog on River Plate's really cool. On Boca they have a couple of cool things as well. I remember seeing really cool like Boca hats, just something like Argentinian fans wear hats more often than most fans. So they have really cool hats in like Argentinian paraphernalia overall. Uh, I don't know. I just feel like team European kits tend to be cleaner, tend to be like classier. But in South America, you find a lot of like really colorful stuff with a lot of personality. Very much so like Fluminense kind of pulls off being classy and colorful at the same time, but still like something you don't expect. So you should look it up, man. There's some amazing kits in Africa, in Asia, in South America, and
Yeah.
Golasso Kits has it all.
It does indeed. Please do check out galassokits.com and you can get your discount. If you go into the F.I.T.A shows, they have a promo code. I believe there is one in the last one. You did the preview for the Sudamericana Copa Libertardores. So you can go in there, use that promo code and get money off of your purchase. It's coming up to Christmas and Thanksgiving as well, whether you give presents for Thanksgiving. I'm not American, so I can't tell you that. But if you fancy doing that for someone for Thanksgiving, they'd love you for life. So just go ahead, even for a surprise. Don't have to have a reason for buying someone a present, but please go on Golasso Kits. Maybe even get one of those ones where you don't know what you're getting, but you order it, you get a football shirt, and you're like, wow, yes, it's the Man City away kit. I'm a Man United fan. This is not good. No, that won't always happen. But of course, I think, if you get like one of those like question mark football kits, you're going to get a good kit. I'm just hoping that you don't get the big rival that you'd never wear because that wouldn't be very good for you. But I'm pretty sure you might be able to tell Johnny Boy before you get it. Like, look, just please don't choose me a Man City kit if you do it. I'll buy one, wear it on Gunners from All Corners. Yeah, will you? Hell, will you? He probably has actually. I think he's bought about 4 or 5 kits from Golasso Kits, Anthony. So big up to him as well.
As you can see, Golasso Kits also have kits on Hagrid size. So, awesome. All variety.
Large. Right, Marley, then we're going to finish it off, mate. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. Smash a like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much, mate, for coming on. We've got all the votes in now. There are 9 votes. 78% say that Fluminense can win the Club World Cup. And no says 22%. And I'm going to end that now. Unless anybody wants to get into that vote in the last 1 minute, you can go for it now. And then I'm ending it. But Marley,
If that happens, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I made a promise to the universe that I was gonna quit cigarettes if Fluminense won the Libertadores, so no more cigarettes for Charlie. And if Fluminense wins the Club World Cup, I'm gonna do a couple of crazy things, guys. It could be dangerous, but yeah, that's a long way from here. I just want to enjoy like the title that I just won. Don't want to give that too much thought. But thank you, Maddie, for being my friend, for giving me a platform to talk about my favorite, like one of the favorite things, like one of my favorite things to talk about. And I, especially today, I want to thank football itself, like the gods of football. Like, thank you. You've given me a lot of sadness, but today, like yesterday, you've given me like one of the happiest days of my life. And yeah, thank you. I love you, football. I love you, Fluminense, and I love you, Maddie.
Love you too, bro. And I'll see you in 7 weeks, won't I? It's not very long away now, is it?
I'll see you very soon. Yeah, I'll see you very soon, mate.
Thanks, bro.
Can't wait.
I know you're giving up the cigarettes, but do not give up the beer, mate, because I need a drinking buddy here. All right.
Nah, yeah, I'll prepare my liver for when you come here. I don't.
Bro, don't get it twisted. I ain't that bad. All right.
Okay, good, because I don't fancy alcohol too much, but I'll grab a beer with you. Yeah.
You could drink a if you want. Just make sure you watch me drink a Brahma. Yeah, that's it. What about me? Yeah, you're not getting anything. You're not
Of
getting
course,
anything.
I love you, cuz you know I love you. Just, you're not here. You're missing out. Maddie is.
Yeah, that's it, mate. Well, you can come out if you mate. You know, Anthony, you can get a flight. You know, you got a steady job, mate. You can do it. But
I was talking about this stream, but yeah, like
oh,
I agree. I agree that cuz should visit. Yeah.
maybe one day. He lives up the road from me in Bristol, and I've seen you first. You live all the way down there. Sorry, cuz, mate. I just didn't fancy going to the tropical side of Bristol compared to Rio, mate. You know what I mean? It didn't do it for me. I know you're on the coast as well, but it just ain't the same. It just ain't the same. Right, we're going now, so I've got to get in the bath. Marley,
Go ahead.
take care. Everybody that's tuning in, take care. We'll see you probably for what's coming on next. Actually, the next show, probably United Across the Globe at some point in the week. We've got the League des Champions will be back on Wednesday or Thursday night. Actually Thursday, because I can't watch all the games on the Wednesday night, so that's literally impossible. Thursday night we'll be back. Gunners from All Corners is back as well. And yeah, take care, everybody. Enjoy your week. All right, enjoy November. See you. Oh, hang on, one more comment before we go. There we go. Bristol de Rio. Don't mean nothing in Brazilian, does it? That or Portuguese?
I think it's just putting Bristol and Rio together.
All right, well, fair enough.
But yeah.
All right, fair enough. Take care, everybody. Have a pleasant rest of your Sunday. Bye-bye.